edible landscaping is awesome. A lot of these plants can be very visual. If you're adding trees or anything like that, you know, fruit trees are good. You can do nut trees. When I grew up, we had one tree in my backyard and it was this giant pecan tree. And we had, you know, we would get 30, 40, 50 pounds of pecans a year. And we would just, that was what we ate as a snack. We just picked them up and ate them. And, you know, we'd pick them up out of the yard. As a kid, I'd throw a football in the tree, and my stepdad and I, and then all the pecans would fall and we'd pick them all up. That's how we would harvest them. This is the Backyard Gardens podcast, and you know that I have a garden here if you've watched the channel. But what you may not know is throughout my entire yard, I have food hidden everywhere. I have a hidden garden, you could say, just spread out all over my yard. And we're gonna talk about edible landscaping, and I'm gonna show you kind of how I've done it and what my plans are in the future. So come on, let's go check it out. Let's see what kind of random stuff I have planted in my yard. Just a twig right now, but this peach tree is what we are excited about. So it's just starting to flower. So I don't know if we'll get peaches this year, but it's a self-pollinating variety, so we don't need a whole lot. And you can see we came through and just added a little bit of mulch and then some compost on top and then fertilizer to get it through the year. But this separates our property line. So from here over is common area. And then so this will provide shade, which just cooks in the summertime. So we'll have good shade here and hopefully some peaches. So let's see what else we got. So we just put these in. We ripped out some bushes we had that we didn't really like, and these are pineapple guavas. So I bring these up for a reason. They're super hardy, and they're gonna get really big, and they flower. And this bed gets nothing but sun all summer, so it's super hot. If we look at that as, yeah, it's pineapple guava. We may get a fruit from it, but if we don't, that's okay. It doesn't mean that all is failed. If we get a fruit, that's a positive. We'll consider edible landscaping. If not, then it's just gonna be pretty. But that's kind of how we've set all of this up. So if we come through on the same corner of this bed, and I have this project that I've been working on. So we built this over the weekend, and we obviously still need to plan it out. We're gonna put plants over here, make a bed going in here, and then move some stuff here. But what we have right here, and it's gonna be dark for a second, so just bear with me, is lemongrass. But if we come through here, I can't wait, we're gonna put this jasmine up on this trellis. So it's gonna be pretty nice. And in a world of super high wood prices and everything, that whole fence and trellising cost us about $200 to build. We started some perennial seeds that we'll put out there, so there you go. Nice cheap savings. But let's continue on. So this is my porch, and we just had a bad windstorm, so everything's blown over. I need to pick it up today. But you can see that we have a couple things going on here. One, right here we have a rosemary bush. So this is evergreen, grows all year, doesn't stop. It started off about that big, and now you can see that it's nice and tall. So we'll always have rosemary. And then we have some sage here. Right here is sage. And this is where we put some of our herbs. We disperse them throughout our flowers. And then we even put scallions here that we grew from the grocery store. And then so if we need scallions, we'll come out and clip them. And it's just, when you mix them within the flowers, it adds nice foliage and nice textures. And so this is my mother lemongrass. So I wanted to come back here and talk about it because it's so big and does so much. So this lemongrass will grow this year up to here, and it'll fill in this whole area. It'll be draping over all of this. So it does two things. One, it deters mosquitoes, supposedly. Cool if it does, if it doesn't, fine. And my property, it doesn't matter. Mosquitoes are like pterodactyls, they just come at you. Two, we can make tea out of it. And three, we use it as a soup ingredient for tom yum soup. So it's really good to have. The key is harvest it before it freezes, because if you don't, it gets a funky taste. So before it freezes, I'll come out and clip what I want, and then you just dry it in the house, and you can chop it up and put it in the cabinet. So we cut it into little slivers, but that's a good addition as well. This is the beginnings of a blackberry patch. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 blackberries that we'll have, and we're gonna put a trellis up here in a couple weeks. We're gonna do a video about it and grow that up. And so what that'll do is that'll block this view of the woods, because it's not unsightly, but it's just not exactly what we want. So if we build that up, it'll form a natural barrier. And so right next to it, what we also got was, and I still have the tag on it, a brown turkey fig tree. So we put this in here, and it's the same idea. It gives us food. We love figs. So you can see it's starting to leaf. I actually got frostbitten the other day, but it's gonna be just fine. You can see the buds coming in on the tree already. So we got this super cheap last year. I got on sale for 15 bucks. It's fast growing, should give us figs either this year or next year. Self-pollinating, no issues. So, and it'll grow big and it'll kind of shade this area out as well. And that's what we want. We want to create more shade, because as the sun comes from over here, we want to cast shade onto our blueberries. So we wanted a hedge going all the way down, but we didn't know what to do, so we took and we planted blueberries. So what we did is every year we buy another blueberry bush, and we actually skipped last year, but we're gonna pick it back up. And so these are all blueberries. So I have 6 blueberries, and these leaf out super early, and they flower super early, and everywhere there's flowers, you are going to have blueberries. So you can see we're gonna be loaded with blueberries. Just loaded down. You might be asking, how many blueberries are you gonna get off 6 plants? Well, we don't, truth be told, we don't get a lot, but we're not growing them just for the blueberries. We grew them to make this hedge back here to block that view a little bit. But then we'll also get enough, I mean, in the spring, you know, every couple days, we'll have enough to put fresh blueberries in our cereals, stuff like that. You can make a couple blueberry muffins, something, you know, nothing crazy. It's not like we're making jellies and putting them back for the year, but we're still getting some. And so what you can do is you get them in the fall, and you get them super cheap, and then you can just, we're gonna stagger them now and make them a little bit deeper. And so that's how we're gonna get more blueberries, but that creates a nice hedge for that area. And it does, and since they've grown up, it has been very nice having them. So we're gonna keep walking back. You can see my winter bonsai bench there. All right, so this I'm thinking is a failure, but I'm not gonna call it off. But see that twig? I have 1, 2, 3. Those were bare root raspberries last year, and I wanted raspberry bushes, not trellising. So I had some at my last property I lived in a while back, and these 3 bushes will fill up this entire area and just give us nothing but raspberries, and you will get enough to put back and can and eat throughout the summer. So if these don't make it, then we're gonna replant with some bigger, more costly plants. I tried to be cheap and do the bare roots and didn't really work out well. This gets a lot of sun, so it required a lot of water. But we're pretty upset that those look like they're not gonna make it, but not all hope is lost. And so, we have the garden here, but here we have a pear tree, and this one's not doing very well, but this one is over here. So this pear tree is doing a lot better. And again, we wanted a tree here, we wanted some fruit, and this will be a source of food that we will not have to change ever. We will not have to replant, we will not have to do anything about it. So we're adding stuff throughout our space. So edible landscaping is awesome. A lot of these plants can be very visual. If you're adding trees or anything like that, fruit trees are good. You can do nut trees. When I grew up, we had 1 tree in my backyard, and it was this giant pecan tree. And we had, we would get 30, 40, 50 pounds of pecans a year. And that was what we ate as a snack. We would just pick them up and ate them. And we'd pick them up out of the yard. As a kid, I'd throw a football in the tree, and my stepdad and I, and then all the pecans would fall and we'd pick them all up. That's how we would harvest them. I mean, it was a giant tree. So just having that, you know, we needed a tree, we had pecans. So you win-win situation. You know, I put my herbs next to my house so I can, one, have the texture, but two, also have food and my herbs close to my kitchen so I can come out and harvest them. So by doing these things, you can do multiple, you know, they can be multi-use. You can provide beauty, you can provide shade, you could provide food, you could do all of these things. But the one thing to remember is sometimes planting these things out here doesn't mean that you're just, I'm only gonna get my blueberries from those bushes, because that's not the case, but that wasn't the sole purpose of them. So remember that when you're trying to do an edible landscape, and just try and space things out. You know, creeping thyme is a good one to put in pathways. You can cut the thyme and use it, and you can walk on it and smell it, and it's a good ground cover. So check all these things out. And we haven't even talked about edible flowers, but I'm not big on eating flowers, but it is something that you can do. Now sunflowers are different. You can plant sunflowers and harvest the seeds and roast them. Good source of protein and fat. So, you know, all of these different things help to beautify your yard and make your space better. So give it a shot, you know, try some edible landscaping. But check out Backyard Garden Podcast Tuesday and Thursdays. And until then, see ya.